So I am going live because I originally um, recorded um, a message and I used like my fancy cameras and stuff like that. Not fancy, not super fancy, but whatever. I used my DSLR and I just thought I'd do this particular kind of message and um, I wanted to make sure that the message from the Black Light Project is truly heartfelt. So I'll share this. I just decided to do it live. It is not pre-recorded. This is me from my heart and from the heart of our organization to yours, and I will share it. Um, so our community, as in Black community, our Black society is certainly in mourning right now. We are in mourning because of the pressure is not being let up off of us as Black Americans. And as we say it, perhaps in a figurative way, yesterday for George Floyd, it was certainly very literal as he took his last breaths, saying, I cannot breathe, because the Minneapolis Police Department, utilized excessive force and ended the life of this man who we would come to know as a peace activist and who was active in his community towards positive things, towards good things. And so I'm sorry to see anyone lose their life on camera. I was not able to watch it just because I know it's a privilege to be able to choose to not watch that. But I know the family is living through an incredible amount of turmoil right now. Having lost a loved one is such a public way. And so our hearts and prayers are with them. We're just coming from, standing with Breonna Taylor, who was shot in her home, um, shot and killed in a botched police raid in Louisiana. And then we have, of course, Ahmaud Arbery, who was shot, chased down by civilians and murdered. Certainly, they were murdered. He was murdered. And then we have the news stories like the black man, Christian Cooper, who was letting a young lady know she needed to leash her dog, and she proceeded to put on a very not Oscar worthy performance, but a performance nonetheless to, um, get the cops involved in what was really an innocuous situation. And he reminds me of a quote that I cannot attribute to whom said it, to who said this, but they said, as a black person, and especially as black males, there is criminality imputed to their mundane activities. And that's such a powerful statement, in that just regular, common, everyday events turn into life threatening, life ending, life changing events, in usually a very, very negative way. And then we have the mother. I can't recall where she was from. It may have been Florida, I'm not sure, who blamed the death of her young son on black males had stolen her car and went on to kill her son, which was not true. It was a non truth. It was something that she just came up with. But nonetheless, recognizing both she and the lady who called the cops on Christian Cooper in the park, realizing what the police are capable of, and that they have this opportunity to use the police as a customer service line versus um, how we view the police and how our interactions tend to end, and how they can be so unfortunate for us in so many ways. And so I do not have solutions, and that's not what this is about. It's about the fact that I stand in solidarity with those organizations, those individuals, those movements that are loudly proclaiming that Black lives do, in fact, matter. They have to matter. That we have to move the needle forward, and they are figuring out ways to do that. Even as we set forth about the course of reckoning our mental health and our psyche and post traumatic stress disorder, that of our collective and that of the individual, which should not be an argument whether how we feel about how an individual handles it within their rights as an individual and a human who is trying to reconcile what has to be a completely um, mind blowing mind-blowingly negative experience, and then that of how we feel as the collective. And we do not stand in the place of judgment of how people deal with that hurt and that pain, especially when they take a path that is towards healing for them, and it is not a path set out to harm another. In the same way, and I am not talking about whether or not you harm the police or whatever the case may be. I'm talking about they've taken the path of you can't go out and have something happen to you and then you just start, you know, raping folks. Not right, not that, but meaning they've taken a path where they've decided this is how I'm going to handle this, and we don't judge that for them. But what we do when we are not involved directly, what we do, we utilize our resources, we utilize our voices, we utilize what we can to make a change. And we stand in solidarity and support with that person as they do reconcile their individual experience, their individual trauma, and then we absorb it as a collective trauma and we make that decision to stand with them. Because the last thing we need when we're hurt is in pain is for someone to then tell us that we're angry because you made the path towards peace and forgiveness and making yourself whole, if that is the choice that they make. Very much so, they could be towards anger. And on the flip, if a person is very, very angry, they are protesting, and they, as we've seen in Minneapolis, that is happening. This ain't the time to tell these people not to be angry. This isn't the time to tell them to turn away and to walk away. They are tired. We are tired of seeing our brothers and sisters killed callously, flagrantly, with no justice, no real justice. It's tiresome. And so if people are angry, and I don't advise it as a place to stay forever, but if people are angry, then we don't judge it. We need to understand it and why they're in their place. And I am in that place of anger and certainly want to move towards forgiveness, but want to move in that on that path in a way that brings about justice and change, because I don't think those things are mutually exclusive. So I am just a person who has an organization who believes that Black people are beautiful, amazing, outstanding. They do amazing things. And where my influence or what our organization is trying to do, we want to use that as a vehicle to continue to share our narratives, and whatever that narrative may be. So many Black men that I know have a story. In fact, I'll share with you that my son came home just about 2 weeks ago, and he'd been stopped by the police, and they searched the car and they searched him, and I wasn't happy about it. And the cop went on to say that, this and that had been going on and he'd been shot at and whatever the case may be. But, my son obviously didn't have anything, and he came home. But he knocked on the door around midnight and came in my husband and me and my husband's bedroom. And he said, "Oh my God, I just really realized what it's like to be a Black man in America. And I don't shelter my children. The Black Light Project, I can't. They hear this talk all the time." But with all the stories, with all the things that we share, all the news, what hit home for him was, I'm like 140 pounds soaking wet. I'm chilling. I'm just a cool guy. They wouldn't mess with me. That's not true. There's no outfit. There's no look. When brown skin is the thing that makes you a threat. And I don't know how to remove that threat. But I do know that people deserve a voice, and they deserve an opportunity to share who they are. And we deserve to give people a platform to have honest, open conversations. They should be able to share their narratives without judgment. Without judgment. They should be able to know that their community is behind them, and that when their arms are tired or weak, that we will hold up their arms in strength and we would march forward for them. And so in the coming week, the Black Light Project is developing a social media project where we highlight raw stories of Blackness in America, just very raw, where they'll take over our social media and share their lives, answer some questions, and just share their perspective. because life is about perspectives. So be on the lookout for that. It's very important um, that stories are told. I personally, if you've ever watched the original documentary, The Black Light Project, it starts with the roots of media conditioning. Thank you, to Garrett Taylor for sharing that. But it begins with that. It talks about how we got to the place, how we arrived where we are. Um, and one of the best con jobs, I think, in America has been to make others feel as if Black people are always a problem to be solved. They are something to be dealt with, and animals that need to be controlled. And that has persisted for a very, very long time. And I believe through the sharing of our narratives that we can challenge media. We can challenge what we see by sharing who we are. And I just believe, I'm a talker, and I just believe in the power of our stories. Like I said, this is a time that's very difficult for me because I am the mother of 5 sons. We have 3 girls. I have a husband. I have so many men. I have a brother-in-laws. I love them so much. And the men of the Black Light Project, and those weren't chosen. There's so many I know in so many ways. They are so amazing. And they deserve the right to be heard, and they deserve to live free. So I stand in solidarity with you. I love you. This project is from my heart, and in the way that I can be, use this platform, I guarantee you that I will. That's very important to me. Anyway, I love you all. I am praying for you, and I believe faith without works is dead. So we will pray, we will believe, but we will work until we see some change. Thank you.